All right, so there was a time where, I mentioned that we had a reputation for being a social organization. And I remember my junior year, we went out one night to go chalk in front of one of the dining halls, like obnoxiously big. And when we came back the next morning, like for breakfast, somebody had wrote between the Filipino and cultural, somebody wrote lack of. Like someone actually took the time to get chalk and write lack of in front of cultural. I think our initial reaction was, oh, I can't believe somebody did this, that's out of line, that's uncalled for. But when we took a step back and really thought about it, it was, what are we doing to promote Filipino culture? And that's probably the primary spark that we went so big on trying to do Filipino American studies. It was how do we reverse that perception? Because there was not just some truth to it, there was a lot of truth to it. We hadn't really been providing, that much information, that much education about like our history. One of the first things Larry did when he came to campus was start a speaker series of like prominent APIA individuals to basically come to campus and hold lectures. And we went to one where he invited Juanita Tamayo-Lot to speak.
I knew Larry Shinagawa, who came out to be the first director of Asian American Studies at College Park. He invited me to give a talk, and I met two young men at the talk that I gave, named Jonathan Sterling and Ryan Herrera, officers of FCA, and they wanted to do Filipino American Studies. But they were so persistent. They came to my home in Colesville, Maryland. My husband let them in, and they sat in my living room, and they wouldn't go away till I promised to help them. And that's how I got involved with FACET at College Park.
My first involvement was I was part of the planning committee. I recall a meeting with students from the Filipino Cultural Association, plus also community members. And we talked about the concept, the purpose for this, what we need to do, what sorts of buy-in we need to have. I thought that was an interesting sort of intersection of the coming together of members of the campus plus the external community members working toward a very worthwhile endeavor.
I just essentially told the group that we were going to take on this project of creating a Filipino American Studies program. And I just remember, like, Ryan especially, like, just freaking out. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to raise the money? Like, no one's ever done this before. And even though I knew it was a big goal, I really felt it could be done. I mean, just with who we had on our team, and I knew what we were capable of. It was students who started Asian American Studies at the University of Maryland. The students were the driver of that. This seemed smaller to me, so in my mind, it was, well, they did it. Why can't we do it? Sure, it'll be difficult, but working together, I don't see why we can't accomplish this.
Everyone was so excited at that very first gala, and you can tell that everyone saw this big picture, and then with the gala, it was really coming together. You saw people there, you saw big names in the community who were really out and supporting, and you saw people donating money. And so I think after that first gala, we were like, this is real. We can really do this. So, and I was on Marisol's e-board as treasurer, and then from there we took it and we ran with it. And so the class, I guess we were looking for teachers, and they tried to build a curriculum.
Well, I was handed an outline, and so I used that as a starting point. I also had meetings with FCA members to develop the second class, and it was really trying to figure out sort of what to put in it. We also were thinking about other other potential classes, thinking that maybe down the line we'd have other opportunities to develop some classes, and not just with me teaching it, but with others as well. The course, I think, has definitely changed a lot. I think the people who took it the first semester probably wouldn't recognize it now. I incorporate music in it now, I incorporate rap, and part of that is just that I want to keep it fresh and make sure that there's something new every semester.
It really opened up the doors to me to really explore my culture and the history of Filipino Americans, which was really interesting to me because I've read books about Filipinos and the history of them in the Philippines, but never really about, history of Filipino Americans here in the States.
When Jonathan Sterling invited me to the first gala, the first FAST gala, and I was so pleased to see in the audience a lot of the young people that I have mentored along the way, a lot of the young people that I did projects with along the way. So I was basically involved with the fundraising portion of it, and because of my community ties.
Juanita came to us and said, hey, you've got the 2 classes now, what do you want to do next? And, we came up with this idea, well, is it possible that we make a scholarship fund?
Well, College Park already, and Asian American Studies already had a couple of scholarships. Nancy Harrison said, why don't we get American heroes? And so we had Philip Vera Cruz. And so we decided, we being, I guess, Mency and the FCA Executive Committee said, we should put money into this. And so I said, what about General Taguba?
She and Mency Hairston established the General Antonio M. Taguba Scholarship Fund for Leadership and Public Service. And so I was basically asked to participate, just to be an advocate for the Filipino American Studies program. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 10 years old. I've been here now 52 years. And I found it very important that in order for you to voice your concerns, you have to learn how to be a leader.
The executive board, we had to do another gala, but I think the difference between the first and the second gala was that, the enthusiasm had kind of waned, and surprisingly, it happened. It really happened. And, there were people giving $1,000, $2,000. I think someone gave $5,000 maybe. And I think after all was said and done, that gala raised $20,000.
To earn a scholarship from Major General Taguba was an awesome honor. He definitely has a lot of experience to make it up to rank of Major General. And anyone can manage numbers. They can manage people when to clock in, when to clock out. But leaders understand people. They understand their needs. They understand you understand what they can do for you and what you can do for them. You work together to accomplish the mission.
Ancora Imparo, and it's by Michelangelo, and it means I am still to learn. So that kind of illustrates what Filipino American Studies and Asian American Studies means to me, because it's making history and being a part of history, which is a continuous process.
During my senior year, we held the 3rd Filipino American Studies Gala, and at that point, it was actually kind of heartbreaking because the Philip Vera Cruz Scholarship was kind of, we were thinking of not having it anymore, and I don't know, community service is like, that's what it stands for, and people that do a lot of community service should be recognized for it. I really tried hard to keep that one alive and show the Filipino American Studies Committee that it was important. Even though it was going to be difficult to keep it alive, it was still definitely worth the fighting for it,
I guess to feel like a part of it was a really great honor. And then community service specifically is a big part of my life and kind of a focus for me, something I want to always keep doing in my career, my personal life, and everything. So to combine the two was great. And then to have the name Philip Vera Cruz, even though it was new to me until I took Filipino American Studies, I think he's a great historic figure and someone a lot of people could look to as a role model.
That this is a dynamic sort of endeavor that would really lend a very comprehensive view of the experiences of Filipino Americans.
It's really important to know why you want to do this, whom are you going to serve, what is your reach, and can you handle the scholarship part, the administrative, political part, the financial part, and everything else.
Because you just don't come here to graduate from university and try to find jobs. It's also about learning how to be a leader, and also some interest in public and community service, whether it's in the military or government or just around your community.
I know my goal as a leader was to make people passionate about the things that FCA did, and I feel like passion is very, very contagious. With that, people would also build a passion within them and want to make changes in the community.
You know, one of the reasons for putting the class together is to teach everyone that history is more than what we learned in high school, right? Or even college, that there's more to it and that we as Filipinos are a part of it. And that is often neglected, and so one of the big reasons for the course is to make sure that for the few people that get to take it, that they get that information. Then the biography piece biography is history also, but it allows for things to be more subjective, and that's good too. We need to be able to see things from many different points of view and uplift that kind of subjectivity, because there isn't just one right answer. And so if people get a chance to tell their stories, it makes the bigger story much more rich, and I think that's what diversity is about, that's what multiculturalism is about, and we can learn from each other's stories.
For the young kids to see ate kuyas, and that's the other portion of it, is for the young kids to see ate kuyas who are very comfortable in their skin, who have sort of navigated their way, through this conflict of cultures, so to speak, and are fine with it, and have kind of found their own place and their own niche, and are now in a leadership position, and trying to teach and trying to guide younger ones. I thought that's part of the magic.
My sense of this community is a community that's very value-centered, very focused on family. The community, the adults are very concerned about the children, the students, very supportive of their community, and that's very endearing. It's very easy to love the community.
I mean, honestly, I didn't know if we could pull it off. I felt that it was possible, but I think I surprised myself too.
It was something that we did, and who would have thought that a bunch of college students with limited backing, going into it, who would have thought it would have come this far.